Eritrea, a country in Africa, and a country that, like the rest of the continent, has had its fair share of experiencing being ruled over by a foreign country. Yes, a combination so iconic it's on par with a stepdad and a crippling alcohol addiction, but unlike him, Eritrea has been 30 years sober from being ruled over by another nation, obtaining the status of a sovereign nation since 1993, gaining said luxury from its southern neighbour, Ethiopia, of all countries. Now with the introduction out of the way, we can now get to the question of why was Eritrea a part of Ethiopia before its independence? Well, sit back, relax, and let's go back in time to 1936, just after the Second Italo-Ethiopian War. The land that makes up modern-day Eritrea was owned by the Italians, starting off as a small port city being owned by some shipping company to ending up like this. Moving forward to World War II, and we all know how efficient of an ally Italy was, so let's skip forward to 1941, where the Italians got hit hard in East Africa. The colonies there became subjects to British military administration and would continue to do so for the rest of the war and some years after. In 1947, when the Treaty of Paris came into effect, Italy renounced its claims to Eritrea, and while they were doing the temporary administration, Britain is so delighted with its administration in Eritrea that they rewarded themselves with the resources from the territory for their hard work of occupying a piece of land. Now the big question of what to do with Eritrea would soon rise. It couldn't stay as a temporary occupation zone for too long, and so some ideas got thrown around as to what to do with Eritrea. Let's give Eritrea to Ethiopia as a thanks for helping us out. Nah, let's give them independence instead. How about we split the land on religious grounds and give the Christian population to Ethiopia and the Muslim populations to Sudan? Why not just give it back to Italy as a trust territory? Let's see what the people of Eritrea want. Alright guys, it sounds crazy, but what if we tried to do what's best for them? Trying their best to care about the people of Eritrea and their wishes, the UN had eventually came to a conclusion in 1950 that they saw as the best outcome for both sides. The resolution was to incorporate both Eritrea and Ethiopia into a singular federation, where the word federation is used very loosely. It sought to give Eritrea some of the benefits of what makes them an independent country without the independence. Anything international related would go through Ethiopia, but anything at a domestic level would allow Eritrea to deal with it themselves. Eritrea and Ethiopia had formally combined into the Ethiopian-Eritrean Federation on the 15th of September 1952. Remember those independent benefits I said just now? Well, you can forget about those, because the Ethiopian emperor gradually became aggressive to the Eritrean side of the federation over the years, pushing his expansionist views for that Eritrean land and seeking to make it an official part of Ethiopia for good. After years of constant political aggression and acculturation, Eritreans were now sick of the emperor and his meddling with their side of the federation, and an ever-growing desire to become independent, they finally decided that enough was enough. The Eritrean War of Independence had begun, and this war lasted for 30 years, starting in 1961 and ending in 1991, with the Eritrean Liberation Front leading the rallying call for independence, until it got fractured and two more organised independence fighting groups took its place. As for the federation itself, it dissolved a year after the war begun, with the emperor annexing Eritrea and declared it now an official province of Ethiopia. Many political stuff and countless war crimes later, the war ends in 1991 with the Ethiopian government collapsing, and the Eritrean independence fighters declare independence, but they're not internationally recognised just yet. After a civilised talk between the new temporary government and the independence fighters, an agreement was finally made between the two, which allowed for the citizens of Eritrea to take to the polls to vote on wanting independence or not, which was observed by the UN. An almost perfect vote came through, with Eritreans choosing to become independent and officially being recognised on the 24th of May 1993. Another nation to add to the collection. How prosperous is Eritrea nowadays, you might be thinking to yourself? If you've heard the North Korea of Africa being thrown around, that should answer your question. So to summarise why Eritrea was made part of Ethiopia, it was mainly because no one was so certain on what the best approach was for it after World War II. So they thought the best approach was to compromise on what both sides of the Eritrean population wanted and gave it to them. Anyway, that's all for this one. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.